What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here, delarose.com. That's DELARROZ.com. If you go into the description on my below, you can sign up for my newsletter, which you'll get a free novel, a free novella, and a free graphic novel. So if you want to support independent arts and independent platforms and all that, definitely I suggest you do that. And I hope you'll enjoy. Please stick around and read the books. That's really what this is all about at the end of the day, is trying to create a new culture. And I'm hoping that we can show something kind of interesting today. Now, there's been a lot of talk of alternative media platforms because of Facebook and Twitter censorship and all that regarding the election, regarding just honestly anybody who has any sort of dissenting voice is getting targeted at this point. And so people have been checking out different alternatives, and there's plus and minuses to all of them. Now, I know there's a few others other than the three I'm going to talk about today. There's a Telegram, and people like to blog on Minds and things like that. But for the most part, these are the three that get the most traction and the most talk. And so I want to review these from the standpoint of that, because you really need a critical mass to have a social network going. Otherwise, you don't have much social going on the network. So these are the spots, I think, that are the focus at this point. And there's not much that's been more talked about than Parlor. So we'll start here. Parlor is a Twitter sort of clone in a lot of ways. It's got a little bit different. You put out your messages here, like, let's see. I don't know if you want to put something. What's up, Parlor? Doing a video right now. And then it goes Parley, and you can mark it. You're supposed to mark sensitive content. So they allow you to post things like porn and things like that, annoyingly. And then you can click send, and then it goes just like this. And what is interesting about this is, as you can tell, like, when you type, it takes a second for the actual send button to pop up. And it's a little slow on that front. And so I've noticed this kind of all the way around. Like, you get notifications, it's a little slow. You try to go into DMs, it's a little slow. Everything's just slightly slower than Twitter on here, even though it's got mostly the same functionality for things like that. So it's on that level, but it does exist. It does have an app, and so it's easy, at least, to get into this. And then, since you know what Twitter is, it's very easy to go into different hashtags, just like Twitter. You see how slow it loads again, and find hopefully some like people. Now, what I've also noticed on most of the content is they call it retweets echoes, whatever. It is an echo. But I noticed that almost all of the content on here is echoes. I've got very few people who are actually creating content. You notice that you've gone down, and every one of these posts has been an echo, except for this one. So far, that's a little bit more extreme than Twitter. It seems like there are just a bunch of people or bots echoing things rather than actually, creating social content, which means there's a lot less engagement, because there's not a lot of people going through and just, you see there's zero on this, there's 41 on this. It's a lot lower than you'll find on Twitter. And that's just because it hasn't reached maybe a critical mass yet. So maybe that'll get better over time, but that is the state of the platform right now. I've also noticed it is kind of difficult to kind of know who you're following and unfollowing. Sometimes when you're following somebody, it doesn't pop up right away, and so you click the button a couple times, and that makes it so that it unfollows them and you didn't even know it. They do put a limit on follows. I tried to test this because I like testing these things. So you can only follow or unfollow, I think, about 250 people a day. So if you want to go in and just really want to start off the bat and find all your people or whatnot, it's very hard to do that. That's good in some ways and bad in some ways. Twitter has a limit like that, and they do it to stop bots from following 18 million people and then getting follow backs of 15 million people, because people like to follow back. So I get it, but it also slows things down. On the non-app version, there's also no way to drag pictures into the deal here. This is a feature I'd really want, because I like to post a lot of memes, and so if I try to drag something over, I'm not able to. I have to actually click on this and go to my desktop and find the file and all that. Now on the app version, of course, that's not a big deal because you're on a phone, you're going to be clicking anyway. But it is the case there. Also notice like when you post links. So if I post my YouTube channel to see John Delarose, for example, it does pop up this sort of deal, but it leaves the URL up in here. So it kind of is funky, and it can lead to errors, like when you're actually trying to post links. So that's kind of a weird thing too. Overall, like I said, the actual content and way to do things is very similar to Twitter. So if you want a Twitter clone that isn't going to ban you for posting some spicy take or whatever, that is a decent spot to go. It seems to be controlled by, I think, Dan Bongino, who's like this Fox News contributor and all that. So it is much more of a normie Republican place than anything else. Most of the content seems to be just political stuff. Is what it is on that front. So right now I'm rating Parlor like a 6 out of 10. I like to say 7 is average because C is average. And so this is slightly below average, and it's a little slower, a little harder to use, and it's just not quite there yet. I hope things change on here. And of course, if you're on here, please follow me on Parlor. And I hope that it gets a little more interesting in the future. As far as engagement goes, I mean, I've got about 250 followers on here versus my 6,000 on Twitter. And so I get about, I'd say my posts get anywhere from 1 to 5 engagements. Typically, it's a little on the low side, but that's the same case as all these budding social networks. It isn't hard to engage on here. You just get a little upvote, just like Reddit. Whoops. I guess you can't vote and unvote too much too fast, but that's that. But again, when you're trying to get into replies and all that, it can get a little wonky. Just things run slow. And of course, from the notifications, and I'm trying not to just dox people who notify me and stuff like that. Sorry for folk who are. This is public, I think. So it is hard to get into comments to be able to do that on there. So that's my review of Parlor. Next so I'd say this is the weakest of the 3 I'm going to review today. So third place as far as my favorites go. And this is it can get there. They just need to fix some of the speed issues, and then hopefully allow me to drag and drop pictures. That's all I want. All right, Miui. Here's Miui. As you can tell, it's a little more different. This is more of a Facebook alternative in ways. So it's trying to get more people to actually have discussions and groups. As you can see here, I'm in a bunch of groups, mostly science fiction and fantasy stuff, because that's what I like to write and talk about. And their whole thing is they don't track you, basically. So they allow a lot less of I guess I should say they censor a lot less than Facebook does. They allow the posting of at least soft pornography, from what I've seen, which kind of, I don't like that. But, at the same time, they're not tracking what people are doing. So that is kind of nice on that front. It's got an interface very similar to Facebook for notifications. You've got your profile, your contacts, settings, etc. You can make posts very easily here, and you can drag and drop things. You go right here, making a video right now. This is a test post for it. Huzzah. And I drag and drop my little Pepe here, and so I can post. And very simple, very good. Now, it actually deters engagement in a lot of ways, because you can't just click and just go like you can with hitting the like or the upvote on that. You actually have to go through and choose one of your emojis to upvote things with. And that creates an extra step where I think it actually deters engagement for some reason. Now, you can make things so that they're public, or that they are just your contacts, or you can actually make a list of close friends also. And so it's just like Facebook in that regard. And I do really like that. I do like the groups also. I like going into, say, Marvel Comics and just hanging out with the groups. Again, there's low engagement levels on most of this stuff. You don't get quite as much as Facebook, and that's because there's less people to some degrees. But there isn't. I think this group's got a couple thousand people in it, and most groups I see with a couple thousand people on Facebook have a little bit more engagement. So people aren't using it quite as much, is what it tells me, or it's harder to engage. It takes that extra step. There's one annoying thing about Miui is that they pop up this thing that like asks you to support Miui Premium, and it's a pop-up window. It didn't do it this time, but it does it about every fifth time I load the website. And I just don't want to deal with that. And I don't like this enough to support premium yet. Looks like I do have a somebody liking this. Thank you very much. So I don't know, but it does have an app also, so it's a great Facebook alternative. The other thing it does have, which makes me very happy, is messages, chats, and I've got my groups up right now, so I don't dox the contacts who are talking to me. But I do like that you are able to pull up chats. And I like that group chats are a thing too, because you can get to know people for specific subjects this way, which is a little cooler than the way Facebook does things a lot of the time. So Miui is actually kind of an 8 out of 10. I just really want them to get rid of their that pop-up that comes up every single time. I want more people on it. And I want just to be able to hit a like button and not have to like actually work and think about what emoji I want to use every single time. So that is the Miui review. 8 out of 10. I think it's my second favorite. All right, finally, Gaap. Gaap got a bad rap at the beginning because like they really tried to work to destroy this company. Now, part of it's the way that Andrew Torba set things up, because he was really the first one out the gate to be the free speech alternative. And he went full free speech. He's like, I'm not going to censor anything. And what invariably happened at that point is people pushed that line and pushed that line and pushed that line. And you saw some pretty nasty stuff on here. For a while, like Gaap really had a lot of that, like, neo-Nazi LARPing sort of thing going on. A lot of people didn't too. It was a right-wing sanctuary, just like Parlor was, but because of its no no holds barred, no bars holded. I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I mean. Policy, like you got some weird people in here. Eventually, that kind of backfired on Gaap. I know there was one instance in which somebody was posting some libel about somebody being a pedophile or something like that, and that was allowed to stay up because of free speech. Well, there was a threatened lawsuit about that, and that went a little crazy for a while. And that's when things really started to change for Gaap. They changed their interface. This runs on a Mastodon instance. So Mastodon is like this language which allows you to set up your own groups and all that, and set things up however you want on this level. And it's really clean. It's really easy to use. It's pretty nice. Now, Gaap can get buggy sometimes, as you can see, like the breaking now wasn't really loading very well on my screen right then. I just got it to load. But it's got a Twitter-like interface, sort of combined with a Reddit-like interface. So you got your notifications, you got your groups, and really the groups, tag your posts. So if you go to one of my posts here, for what group it's in, so Books of Gaap, I'm pretty sure that if you're not in Books of Gaap, you can still see it if you follow my profile. I'm not exactly clear on how that works. It says it's public, but I think it does post to that group so that people can actually go find that group. You've got your hashtags also, so you can go search and find hashtags, free speech. There's your hashtag, and then stuff will pop up under that hashtag. So I don't think did they do a trending hashtags anymore? It doesn't look like they did. For a while, there was a joke on Gaap that the 3 trending hashtags that were happening over and over were free speech, Gaap fam, and Trump, and that was it. And that was early in the day. Now I am kind of annoyed because I used to have like 3,000 or 4,000 followers on here, and when they switched over to their Mastodon instance, it deleted all of my followers. So I'm down to like 200 and something. And I think that's where I'm at on all of these platforms. I don't have a huge following on any of these, but I also don't make them my focus either. Gaap is my favorite because, again, it's just got that whole Twitter vibe to it, but it doesn't have the Twitter problems with it. Gaap also does not allow porn, which makes me very happy. So I'm never going to have any weird not safe for work stuff pop up on my feed. And they've been very clean about the way that they've sort of broken things down lately. I like the groups. I like the lists. That's a Twitter feature also. It's cool. There's a pro feed. So if you're a pro member, and I actually did go pro and support Gaap on this, you get your posts to this own feed. I got news, etc. And so that's pretty cool. You got some neat stuff that's involved here. And again, I think this is just the best platform for now. How it runs normally is a 9 out of 10. What sucks is like Google and all that and Apple have made it so they can't have an app. And they've been demonetized. They don't have credit card processors, etc., because again, they were just the first out the gate, and I think they did go too far on that free speech. So people went a little, pushy on, trying to deplatform them to begin with. Really sad on that front. But other than not having an app, it works really well and is pretty nice. I hope they can get an app eventually. I don't know what the deal is or if they're even trying at this point, which slows their growth. Again, I get slightly better engagement on Gaap than I do probably on the other two. Maybe I don't know why that is, but I seem to. It's easier to engage on posts than it is on Gaap or on Miui, for example, because I can hit the like. As you can see, it's pretty fast. There's the repost, the quote is just like Twitter in a lot of ways. Cool. So those are the three platforms right now, and that's what we've got to work with. I'm on all three. I'm posting to all three, and I hope that they take feedback and get better on where they need to. And I hope that they continue to grow, because we do need some sort of alternative networks to stop the whole monopolistic tendencies of these others. Now, there is a fourth I'll give an honorable mention to, which is Social Galactic, and that is Vox Day's platform. Now, you only get on that via invite only, and I think you have to be an unauthorized TV member or I think Castalia Library member in order to get into that. And the engagement's really good on there, but it's a smaller group of people who kind of all know who each other are. There's maybe a few thousand people on there. And so they're all very closely aligned in interests. It's very chill, and that's a nice thing. It runs very similar to a Twitter instance and all that, and is really nice. I'm not going to pull it up because that platform is private, so I think all the information on there is private, and I don't want to inadvertently give out any details. But that's all four of them. So far, again, I think Gaap's the winner as far as just like the usability goes. And just the engagement that you're able to get just from posting to groups and things like that. But the other two are close behind. Parlor really is the furthest behind, I think. I don't know why that one's getting the most traction. But that's what we've got for now. I know people have asked me to do a video like this on alternative search engines, and I'm still researching those, so I will do that soon. And then I'll probably do this similar for like alternative email things like Proton Mail and things like that, just because for people who further want to disconnect. All right, and YouTube alternatives also. Hit that like and subscribe button. If this video is popular and people like this, I'll do more of it. That's how it goes. And leave a comment down below, sign up for the newsletter, and please support the books, most importantly. Thanks, guys. See ya.